Only Arsenal's against Olympiacos in 2009 was younger. And yet, Leon, as Connor was saying, this is a young squad, and just because they're young doesn't mean they lack experience.
No, I think a couple of seasons, well, probably at the start of last season, I would have said that they are young and that, yes, they lack a little bit of experience, and I think we saw that in some of their performances, and certainly to continue to do that. And there is still a mixture with certain bits of experience in the team, as Connor just mentioned, the likes of Cucurella and Tosin in the team. So I'm interested to see how Chelsea go about this game and how they handle with bringing in those younger players, how they handle this situation.
Yeah, because this is not an easy opponent. I know that Chelsea they've got a history of having real success in Baku, because that's where they won the Europa League. But in terms of facing Qarabag, they've been so good this season. They've won like 2 of their matches against Benfica and Copenhagen, and they're going to need a little bit of that experience, particularly in what's going to be a hostile away environment.
Yeah, this is certainly not a straightforward fixture, not a straightforward as it seems on paper. English clubs have got a fantastic record against Qarabag, who've been dreadful, as I say, in when they play English teams. However, with the results, as you mentioned, they've got this season, with it being in their own stadium, with the intense atmosphere that we'll expect throughout the game, and with, as you mentioned, with that being all to cope with from these young and inexperienced players who, yes, have shown some considerable talent at home, and certainly within the Premier League or within the stadiums of England. But going away in European football is different. It brings a different intensity, and you'll see tonight which of those players can take the ball in difficult situations. It's not just about their quality, it's about their character in these moments. But these young players have shown that they've got the potential. Now's the opportunity to go and turn that potential into happening on the pitch.
Leon, there's lots to say about the players who are starting, but are you a bit surprised that Liam Delap, who's had a really frustrating time at his start to life at Chelsea, hasn't been included as a starting player?
I think this could have been an opportunity to start him, but I think the fact that he came on and got sent off, I think the manager has voiced that he's had some frustrations with him. I think Tariq George has come in and done really well when given the opportunity, I think, and
they've already had a couple of big wins. They came through 3 rounds of qualifying just to get into the competition, and yet they've really performed well when they've got here. How do you think they can cause Chelsea problems tonight?
Well, I think the intensity that they can play at should certainly give Chelsea problems. They've got quality. Andrade, who's scored 5 goals in 9 European games this season, will play in their number 10 position, try and get in between Andre Santos and Lavia in those roles, and Chelsea can't let him go spare. They can't let him make the runs that he likes to make and get into the positions that he likes to, and I think they can cause problems. The intensity of this crowd will certainly help them along, but I think it's all about Chelsea as well. I think how they take the ball, knowing, yes, we talked about the youthful players, but there have to be some level of experience of when to keep the ball in difficult situations, when to take the opportunity to have 15-20 passes and just take the sting out of the crowd, because Chelsea have got enough in their team to be scoring goals, to be defending well, and to be winning this fixture. It's just whether they can do that when they're out there on the pitch.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as well, as you said, to see how Tariq George plays. As we mentioned him in relation to Liam Delap not getting his opportunity in this game. Has he impressed you with the way, not just in terms of his performance, in terms of getting goals, but in terms of his approach to the games, the fact that he has been ready to go?
Yeah, well, his attitude has been very good. He is always keen to get on the pitch. You always know he's ready. When the manager turns to him, he looks excited to be wanted to get onto the pitch. He's not one of these subs that gets called upon and seems to take forever to get ready. So that's always a positive. And then when you're asked to come on the pitch, you're asked to affect games, and he's done that. He's been in goal scoring positions. I love when strikers get inside that 6-yard box, and any ball that comes flashing across, they're there or thereabouts to be putting them in, or maybe just about missing them. But if those balls keep going into those positions, ultimately they'll finish more than they miss, and he showed that, especially in that the League Cup game against Wolves. I thought he scored a really good goal. Could have had another one in the game. I thought he was difficult for the centre backs that he was up against. He was a real tricky player, a bit of a handful. And yeah, as I said, I've liked what I've seen. I think he can score a lot of goals given chances, and you'd expect him to get those chances in this Chelsea side.
Just looking at the table as well, Chelsea on 6 points, as are Qarabag at this stage of the competition. It feels like I know that they need to try and get into the last 16 to avoid a playoff as we kind of get into the not later stages of this competition, but we get into the middle stage of this league phase of the competition. It feels like one that Chelsea really need to win this one, to get the 3 points and to give themselves some degree of comfort in terms of progressing in this competition.
Yes, of course. I mean, if you want to get to that point where you're finishing top 8 and you're not having to play in that extra fixture, then you have to win these games. They've got Barcelona at home in the next game. That, could go either way. Chelsea will think they've got a chance, but Barca are a quality team. Atalanta away, that's no easy fixture. Paphos at home, Napoli away. So they've got some tricky fixtures coming up, Chelsea. So the more points you can get in the bag quickly and early and taking the opportunity in the so-called easier games, even though, yes, we've just said this isn't as straightforward as you'd expect. But yes, they have to try and win these games. If they don't, then yes, I still think they'll qualify, but they're going to have to expect to play in that extra fixture.
And I think, Leon, we should talk about Estevao, because he's been so impressive for Chelsea. Everybody's been singing his praises, but Enzo Maresca's been quite careful about how and when he chooses to play him.
Yes, and I think that's good management, because when there is a young talented player coming through, we as fans and people watching want to see him on the pitch as much as possible, but that's always not necessarily what's best for the young player's development. And he's handled him quite well. He's brought him in at certain moments. He's took him out when maybe there's been a bit of spotlight around him after he's done something wonderful, but he's always been on the cusp. And this is another opportunity for him to go on and learn, I suppose. This is one of those learning experiences away in European competition, and a long way to travel against in a hostile atmosphere where you'd expect there's enough around to protect him and for him to show his qualities, but it's another stage of the development for a talented young man.
It's a long way to travel. They got there about 1 o'clock in the morning. They won't be hanging around afterwards, because I think it's 4 hours ahead in Baku, so this is taking place at 9:45 at night. So Chelsea will be on their way pretty sharpish after the game as well. That kind of quick turnaround, does that hinder them a little bit in terms of their preparation for the game?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think the travel and the distance of coming back after the game, and it's extra hours before you then really go to bed and rest. But Chelsea will most probably be going into this fixture still on what we call UK time. Yes, they've gone into a time zone that is 4 hours ahead, but their preparations will still be on UK time to try and keep everything in task along what a normal week would be. It's just that when you finish the game and you want to get to bed very quickly to get your recuperation started, and you've got to start this long journey home, that's the difficulty of this one.
So Chelsea up against Qarabag in Baku this evening in the first of our live Champions League commentaries. It's Qarabag against Chelsea, and your commentary team are Leon Osman and Conor McNamara.
Yes, these clubs met in the Champions League 8 years ago. Qarabag, who've improved dramatically in the years that have passed since. They weren't much of a force back then. Chelsea won 4-0 in Baku, 6-0 in the game at Stamford Bridge. That remains Chelsea's joint biggest win ever in the Champions League. But this time round, there's been much more parity. Both teams have taken 6 points from 9 available so far in this group. And Chelsea have won their